What is going on, YouTube? I am your host, Leon Gunstill, with Mildred the Monk, and we are doing our League of Extraordinary Wrestlers this week. It's a wrestling podcast that me and Milder, or stream that me and Milder are going to do. We did have this plan for, we did have this whole thing planned give me 1 second here. We had this thing planned for a different stream, but nobody is jumping in just yet, so, I think I'm just going to do the wrestling stream earlier today. I was going to do it later, but it's going to happen earlier. So how have you been, Milder?
I've been doing good. For the last couple of days, I haven't been in pain. I haven't been in pain like I have been for the last week and a half. And it looks like things are finally looking up on my end.
Yeah, at least it's not the flu. That's what I have.
No, I seem to have this bizarre immunity to the flu for most of my life.
No, I rarely get it, but for some stupid reason, later in the year where it usually is never around, it hits. And my fever has been going down. It's still 99 today, but yeah, it's the freaking flu. It almost paralyzed. I got paralyzed by chills the other day. That's how bad it was.
Eesh.
Yeah. And it's the beginning of summer, so what do you expect? Yeah, but there's been a lot of shit going on in the wrestling world these days over the last few weeks. One of them was WWE Payback. It was last Sunday, and it seemed like, let me just put it like this, anything could be better than WrestleMania 2032, but this
one was definitely better.
Mm-hmm.
Should we go match by match, or how do you want to go about this?
Oh, let's go match by match. Since
okay, I think we should start with the pre-show, because something happened that neither of us expected.
Yes, Dolph Ziggler defeats Baron Corbin. Hell froze up. Dolph Ziggler won a match.
Although, as great as this moment was, I can't deny a certain trepidation because if I'll say this, if it comes out that Ziggler loses to Corbin at Extreme Rules, I called it.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to give Ziggler that win, so because Ziggler has been threatening to leave the WWE for over a year now, from what I've been seeing. I mean, the match card hasn't been put yet. All that I see for Extreme Rules is Reigns versus Styles Extreme Rules match, which is always a good time in Extreme Rules match. New Day versus Vaudevillains, and Charlotte versus Natalya yet again. And we'll get to that match later on. Next one was the greatest troll Ryback ever pulled. Kalisto versus Ryback.
Yeah, Kalisto versus Ryback. This was actually a good match. This is actually a damn good match. But I will admit that I laughed when I saw Ryback's weightlifting belt that said pre-showstopper.
Oh,
and then a few days after the event, it turns out he got sent home. So Ryback is probably on his way out.
Yeah, Ryback has a money issue with the WWE. He's having a contract dispute right now, and long story short, we might not see Ryback that much anymore because of a contract dispute. You know Vince, he will never cave in. That's something I know about Vince McMahon. But what Ryback actually did, it's not really the match between him and Kalisto that was important. In my opinion, it was what Ryback did to Chicago. Everybody knows Ryback and CM Punk had this little feud going on. CM Punk saying Ryback is unsafe to work with. Kind of like how Randy Orton said Mr. Kennedy was unsafe to work with and Kennedy got fired. Mm-hmm. CM Punk tried doing that to Ryback, and Ryback's like saying after CM Punk had an injury or was out on an injury when he was about to debut in UFC, he says, "Oh, my bad. I must have been too hard on you." And he decided to mock the Chicago crowd, aka CM Punk's hometown, by coming out like at the entrance theme. He was basically doing CM Punk's entrance theme. I was surprised he didn't have Cult of Personality playing. I would have laughed my ass off if he did. They missed a huge opportunity right there to do that. They really did. But I could see they would have rioted if he would have done that. And there were some points where he had Kalisto and the fireman's carry, and we all thought he was going to GTS and not shell shock him. I was hoping he would have GTS'd him. That would have been an ultimate troll. But Kalisto ultimately won.
Yeah. I do get the feeling that Ryback can would be able to improve quite a bit if he spent some time in Japan.
Yeah. He needs to go to Japan. Heck, I was just watching What Culture's top 10 most dangerous extreme matches in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ, those people are insane. Having piranhas in the ring, explosives, barbed wire. Yeah, the Japanese are freaking insane.
I think it's safe to say that all of the shit that we've given ECW and CZW for their hardcore matches over the years, we owe them an apology.
Yeah, I mean, like, for instance, Dean Ambrose, when he was called John Moxley, he wrestled in Puerto Rico, and he said the fans were so vicious they threw batteries at him. Heck, I remember
Honky Tonk Man has talked about similar things about how he's compared Puerto Rico to Newfoundland. Yes, they're technically part of the U.S. and Canada, respectively, but they're not run the same way. And things can get really nasty. Especially if you're working heel.
Oh yeah, and you get hit by batteries, you get people throw stuff. I remember I watched old clips of ECW, like Extreme Rules or Extreme Championship Wrestling. They call for a chair, and everybody that was sitting at a chair ringside would grab their chair, fold it up, and throw it into the ring. I thought that was the most extreme thing that people could have ever done. Throw an assload of chairs into the ring. But nope. New Japan Pro Wrestling's far worse.
That wasn't New Japan. That was IWA Japan and FMW.
IWA Japan.
And currently the place that does a lot of those kind of matches is Big Japan Wrestling.
Yeah, well, Ryback needs to go to one of those places.
Mm-hmm.
He really does. He needs to be an extreme maniac. I mean, heck, that's where Mick Foley knew how to be mentally insane. But yeah, Kalisto defeated Ryback, which I couldn't stand behind because let's just face it, I get it. Kalisto's a talented technician wrestler, but how he defeated Ryback, I didn't believe it. It was something hard to go behind, in my personal opinion. What do you think?
I thought they had a decent match, but it's more in a case of there's something about putting a championship match on the pre-show, even with the network and all. It's not technically a pre-show anymore.
But it's still.
But it's still going to have that stigma for a while.
Yeah, it's still pre-show to us. It's called the kickoff show anymore. That's what they always call it. But yeah, other than that, it was a good match. Overall, good match. Ryback did his best to troll the crowds. If you would have GTS'd Kalisto, that would have been one of the greatest trolls ever. But he didn't. Kalisto didn't give him the chance to GTS him. So, moving on. Now to the actual event. First matchup was the Vaudevillains, English and Gotch versus Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy.
All right. Let's get the positives out of the way before we get to the incident.
Oh.
I liked how they knew what they were dealing with, so they had the New Day come out and and do their usual shtick. And what I loved in the opening parts of the match is that during it you got the New Day basically sitting ringside in beanbag chairs while snacking like a bunch of total geeks. I thought it was great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a positive.
Yep.
The opening thing of Enzo and their opening entrances are all really good. They both have good entrances.
Now, with that said,
oh god,
the match was going pretty well, and I was into everything, and then disaster struck.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think it was Gotch that threw Enzo to the ground. Enzo he threw Enzo too hard, and Enzo's head hit the bottom rope. Which
from what it looks like, it seems that what happened is he was trying to. I don't know if he was trying to do some kind of baseball slide, or trying to make him do a baseball slide, or just Irish whip him, but he threw him way too hard.
Yes.
And as a result, what ended up happening was that he ended up hitting the bottom rope first, and then he hit the mat, and that knocked him loopy.
And I followed some of the people that were there ringside on Twitter. Frank the Clown, he basically was tweeting out, I think it was him or someone else was tweeting out, Colin Cassidy was crying.
Yeah, because the two of them are real life friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they all are. You and Carmel are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was just one of the most shocking injuries I've seen in years, because it legitimately looked like he was out. He was knocked out cold. Enzo was out cold. It was like, oh, is he even alive? It was that kind of a shock.
It didn't help that this kind of thing is coming off of nasty injuries that we've had in the last year or so. Plus, I ended up being reminded of what happened with Pero Aguayo Jr. Thank God we didn't get a repeat of that, because the last thing I need is to see two people die in the ring in the span of a year.
Yeah, and after the whole thing with Owen Hart back in 2001, or 2000, it was 99 or 2000.
99.
99, yes. After what happened to Owen Hart, I mean, yes, that was a malfunction with the zip line, but still.
Well, there's a lot of stuff I could say regarding that.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, it's just mishap after mishap, and this is how you could tell this is not fake. It's scripted. It's not fake. It's scripted. Because those injuries, you have one wrong fall, they could get really badly injured. I've seen it happen to Rusev where he fell out. Give me a second. I'm eating right now. Yeah. I'm eating applesauce, so alright. I'm back.
Welcome back.
Yeah, I had to. We are having a heavy windstorm outside, so my mom thought she heard stuff fell over, so I need to go check it.
Okay.
So
Hey, listen up.
Oh, it's JT. All right. I changed this from my regular stream to the wrestling stream because no one else is really in it. So me and Mildred are covering Payback right now.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been watching some of the wrestling, but I wasn't. Yeah, I was watching on Hulu. There's some amazing wrestlers out there that tend to be. Did you see the I think it was like last week they tried to call themselves the United Nations, but they kind of fell apart.
Not the United Nations, they're the League of Nations.
League of Nations,
The
Yes.
League of Geeks.
the League of Geeks, but
Oh
they
God, the League of we're going nowhere in our careers, and we're going nowhere in our careers, basically.
yeah, and they just rage quit and
Yeah.
fought each other to.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sheamus had the right idea to just beat the crap out of them and just leave.
Yeah, that's Sheamus for you. He's going nowhere. They booked him poorly over the years, but yeah, the whole thing with Vaudevillains and Enzo and Cullen, yeah, that was horrible that happened. At least Enzo is not injured. That I could tell.
All that he has is I can't believe I'm actually going to say this, but it's a good thing that all he has is just a concussion.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was expecting neck injuries.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was expecting. I thought Enzo would have had a bad injury, and he's still inactive because concussions. Because let's just face after Chris Benoit, concussions are heavily looked at. Daniel Bryan was forced to retire because of a concussion, so I don't expect to see Enzo anytime soon. How long is it anymore these days for them to handle concussion?
Probably about 2 to 3 days, depending on how or week.
I'm not sure. What do you think, Mildred?
It ultimately has too much variance to really say.
He was knocked out, so.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, moving on now. That last match was horrible. It ended with It
was a no contest, but it looks like the Vaudevillains are being treated as by default.
The victors, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to Extreme Rules. They're going to face New Day, and I'm not sure, but I think they might win it. Who knows? WWE screwed over the tag team so many times in the past. I won't be surprised. Next matchup is Owens versus Zayn.
This was the best match of the night.
Yes, it was. It was like a build-up between. It started in NXT. It started with Kevin Owens powerbombing Sami Zayn after he won his title.
And that's considered an illegal move, right, in WWE?
Powerbombs, not really.
Yeah, because it almost injured him.
No, it was scripted.
Mm.
But yeah. Owens powerbomb. Long story short, it was NXT. What was it? Arrival or our Evolution?
It was our
this
whole their little rivalry goes all the way back to when they were in the Indies.
Yeah, but WWE style, it started in our Evolution.
Yeah, it started in our Evolution after Zayn had finally won the title after getting screwed out of it so many times.
Yes, and it was a great match between him and Neville, and Zayn won it, and everybody was cheering. Everybody was out there congratulating him from the locker room. They were all out there in the rings and stuff. Owens and him embraced outside the ring and stuff. And then after another hug, Owens picks him up and power bombs him against the ring. And it's just like it's like, what the hell just happened? It's like, okay, there's the new rivalry. I'm kind of glad that that's what actually pushed Owens to the top.
Yeah.
And
it is a bit of a shame that we didn't get a proper Owens Joe match like we could have gotten, but I'll take what I got.
Yeah. And Owens won the title from Zayn when he basically beat him into submission, and Sami Zayn couldn't continue the match, and Owens won it. Refs had to call the match early, which is
funny to me because a lot of times you see that finish, it ends up being a DQ. throwing out the match for kicking too much ass.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Normally that gets you a DQ and gets everybody pissed off, but here you win a title.
Oh yeah, and that match, it didn't stop after this match, which is moving on to the next match.
Mhm.
Kevin Owens, by the way, after this match, went right next to Byron Saxton, forced him to sit on the metal chair. Because if you know anything about Raw, he's been having this like yelling at Byron Saxton all the time. He'd yell at him, which is kind of.
I did like that whole thing of him after he won the match, he said, I'm finally the better man. I can move on to the Intercontinental title." And man's like, "Well, that match is next."
Yeah,
like,
and
Thank you for inviting me to be a guest commentator for that match.
yeah. It was funny as hell. It's that like short little rivalry between Owens and Byron. It's been going on for 2 months now, 3 months. It's been going on for a while between him and Byron. He would yell at Byron ringside all the time. But yes, Miz versus Cesaro. The last match would spill over into this match. Miz versus Cesaro. Cesaro had the upper hand through the entire match, did the King of Swing on Miz. Then, out of nowhere, Sami Zayn attacks Kevin Owens, and they're basically beating each other. Cesaro throws him. I think Cesaro tries to tell him to get off or something like that off the ring, and then Miz rolls him up. Miz basically just rolls up and holds the shorts down.
Mm-hmm. I'm not a big fan of distraction roll-ups. I'm willing to put up with it in this case because this was a legitimate distraction.
Yes, it worked this time, but usually it's just like, what the hell, man? And seriously, Miz is the Intercontinental Championship. I get it. Maurice adds that heel to him, but Maurice adds that fire to the heel side of Miz. But
to be quite honest, Miz does not add very much to anything.
Mm-mm. No, he doesn't, but that's Miz for you. He doesn't do much, but that's why they had to probably that's why they re-signed Maurice, just so they could add more fire to it. And so
that because the two of them are married.
Yes,
and also the fact that
they need filler on Total Divas now because which we'll get into later on who they released. But Dean Ambrose, but that match ended with just a DQ. It was a really messed up DQ. It was a really messed up roll up. I'm never a big fan of roll ups either, but they happen all the time. Next match was Dean Ambrose versus Chris Jericho, and hell froze over. Dean Ambrose match.
Yeah, that match was kind of interesting.
Ambrose versus Jericho. Ambrose fought Jericho. What did you think about that match, Mildred?
Oh man,
I thought this was a good match, but I do think it was. I think it was I don't know if it was just a little too long. It did feel like it dragged a little, and I don't know if that's because because they had to fill extra time due to the tag match ending early, or if it was a result of Ambrose and Jericho not having good chemistry.
No, but it ended with Ambrose winning. Hit Jericho with the dirty deeds and pinned him, which I was surprised. Ambrose hasn't been winning many matches lately. I don't remember the last time Ambrose won a match at a pay-per-view.
It's been a while, but for the longest time they've treated him like a jobber to the stars.
Mm-hmm. Yes, which I don't know why, because Ambrose is possibly way over with the fans. He's always been that maniac. He's always been like the Mick Foley style maniac character.
Well, once again, it goes back to that whole obsession they have with who's the guy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, but I don't have much to say about that match. It didn't it didn't say much story-wise.
Mhm.
I mean, I get it. Chris Jericho's a legend, but
There is one thing I do. There is one thing I do appreciate about the match, and that is that they did not do as many kick out of finishers thing. Instead they were doing reversals when it came to finishes, as if Jericho knew that if he got hit with dirty deeds, he'd be done. And that I like more.
yeah.
Because when you do that kind of kick out at 2 for finishes, it just diminishes the move.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So you have to let them what's the point of a finisher if you kick out of it all the time?
Mm-hmm.
Like for instance, you see DDTs all the time in the ring. When it first started out, like the first DDT, it was created by Jake the Snake Roberts.
Yeah.
And that was a botched finisher. It was basically a botched finisher, and it became a legendary finisher that if you got hit by the DDT, you were out. It was a 1-2-3 pin after that. So like you see DDTs nowadays. Paul Heyman actually said it best in an interview. He said, "What is with the young youth these days? They're DDTing all the time. They don't know how to make a finisher, like a headlock."
Yeah.
He said, "You can make a headlock go over, but they're not doing that anymore these days."
Yeah, they're trying to make new moves. And it's kind of difficult when some of these moves.
I can see both sides of it, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, because a lot of these moves they either rename it to something else or they just do an opposite move of it.
They go over the top way too much, and it's getting to the point where it's impacting their health. Heck, one of Seth Rollins' finishing moves up until after WrestleMania 31 was called the curb stomp,
Mm-hmm.
which could really destroy, which could really hurt someone. And they
I
had
do think,
okay.
but we're getting off
We're
it.
getting way off topic, but Dean Ambrose versus Chris Jericho was a good match. Ambrose won, which was a good outcome. Ambrose needed to win a match after that win Jericho had at Mania, which shouldn't have happened, but it did. Moving on now, Charlotte with her dad Ric Flair versus Natalya with her uncle Bret Hart.
Supposedly Bret Hart didn't want to be there, but he agreed to do it for Natalya's sake.
Yeah. I didn't know why they didn't just get Nat's father in it.
Because Anvil wasn't really much of a star.
Yeah.
We all knew who he was. I mean, a lot of wrestling fans know who Jimmy the Anvil Neidhart is.
Yeah, but after that whole thing where apparently WWE shut down the shop he had on Pro Wrestling Tees, I don't think he's inclined to come back.
Mm-hmm. They've had him on the network events. They've had him on the network and stuff, so I'm not sure.
Well, you got to realize he's a Hart. They decided, well, we're going to bring him in.
Yeah, but Bret Hart came in, and it was a good match. Bret Hart was a good match up until the ending.
Yeah,
Was dumb.
I have no earthly idea why they decided in 2016 that trying to repeat the Montreal Screwjob was a good idea. And
No.
even if I wanted to be charitable and say that it was a good idea, here's the big problem: the commentators were laughing about it. This is when you put out the women's championship, you're supposedly doing it as a statement that the whole diva pillow fight shit is over with. We're treating these women like actual athletes and stars.
Yeah.
And then you pull this shit.
Yeah, it was one of the most annoying finishes I've seen for a women's match, possibly in a very long time.
I will give them credit for the fact that they acknowledge that Charles Robinson is kind of Lil Nate, and that's always been true with him.
What?
Mhm.
Charles Robinson was the ref. He's been a ref for a long time.
Yes, he has like seniority.
And part of the thing with him is the fact that he back in WCW at one point he was the Four Horsemen's personal ref, and he'd do the whole little nature boy thing because
Yeah, I remember.
he idolizes Ric Flair.
Yeah.
But the fact that they decided to redo this for comedy just irks me.
Oh yeah, it was like seriously, you had someone you had two second generation women. I think Natalia's third generation. I think
there's more than one because I remember.
Charlotte's second generation. Natalia, I think, is third generation. I could be wrong.
She is.
Yeah.
Third generation. She's third generation. So doing this to someone someone that comes from a prestigious wrestling background like hers, Neidhart Hearts, yes, they're well-known wrestling families in Canada. Heck, they're well-known here in the States.
Yeah, they were known for their one big hold.
Yeah, and actually that was Brett that came up with that. That was Brett's finishing move, the sharpshooter. And that's what Charlotte did to Nat, was the sharpshooter, and it was just like, he then called the match to be ended early. It's like, oh my god, really? It kind of made sense when I first saw it, because like the match between Bayley versus Eva Marie, he was the ref for that one.
Yeah, but in doing this, you have the problem of how can you possibly trust Robinson to ref a match anymore?
Charles Robertson. Can't really trust him anymore. I mean, heck, he was the one. One of my favorite Mania matches. He was one of the ones that had to rush out almost halfway through the match, like Taker versus Edge. I remember that match really well. That's one of the memories I've seen of Charles Robertson. Was he just ran out? He ran out and just and had he didn't get out in time to help, and Edge couldn't pin him in time. But that was the only thing I remember Charles Robertson really.
And the only thing I can remember about this is that they always tend to do this act every time. Like, it's always a rivalry act, and whenever there's a rivalry act, they always have to start from the beginning of it.
No, but
and then try to finish it in the end.
Yeah, it was almost like an act of it was, to us fans, it was literally, it felt like an act of disrespect almost. I don't know how to put it. It felt like they were messing with our intelligence. They're mocking our intelligence.
Well, you can't blame them. You can't blame them. They've been trying to piss off the fans.
No, that's one thing. There's a difference between pissing off the fans and completely screwing up. Trying to go to nostalgia again.
Yeah.
Why they continue going down the nostalgia route? Nobody likes it.
It's because they think that because it worked back then, it'll work now.
Yeah.
And because of the fact that they've got 30 writers, most of whom probably haven't even done anything athletic in their life.
Yeah, like
that, and probably.
Well, they could just bring back some psycho killer and just possibly show up and to fight everybody.
I don't know.
Well, we do see the pattern of wrestlers trying to trying to beat up people out of random areas.
I never see that really, but
Oh, the run-in shit, which
Yeah.
is just a case of bad booking.
yeah, and it's just yeah. I don't have much more to say about that, except for they're basically gonna have a rematch, a submission rematch at Extreme Rules, which I think Charlotte's gonna win again because they never like switching titles that much, which is stupid. They barely switch titles at all. They never. It's rare to see them switch titles.
Or they just come up with a new one.
No, they
They-
don't. Not this time.
I remember they did the hardcore one, remember?
Yeah, but that
Yeah,
was
that
more of
was
a,
a
that was
long
more of
time
a
ago.
comedy piece. That was more of a comedy piece that they used.
Yeah, but it was funny as hell. But they decided to disband that one because people were getting hurt.
Yeah, but yeah. But moving on now, there's one more thing that happened before I go into the main event. Vince McMahon gets to say who runs Raw.
The eternal sun.
This went on for way too goddamn long.
Oh yeah, he bided and bided more time. You think about it, that was like the slowest build. That was the slowest Vince was ever at the mic. He's like, first
Yeah,
he does
he-
like
Yeah,
massage.
the crowd was kind of doing the trolling chant,
That's
but
the
he was in
CM
Chicago. He should have known better.
That CM Punk chant was awesome.
Mhm.
He's like, yes, keep it coming.
But here's what made me laugh out of my chair and say I can't believe you just fucking said that, you idiot.
What?
When he said that Raw has remained a staple because it has changed with the times.
No, it hasn't. It never has.
You fucking liar. This is
Yeah.
this is coming from the same guy who has repeatedly tried to push the body guy over and over again when it didn't work just because it worked one time back in the 80s.
Yeah.
You try pushing, like, let's just look at it like this with Lex Luger. Everybody wanted to see Bret Hart get over, but they said, nope, we're going for Lex Luger. And that worked out really well.
Unless you want to go with a double stack cage match.
Oh, well, that was WCW, so that's a different.
Yeah,
that's a
and
different
they attempted a lot of crazy shit back then.
Yeah, but that's WCW for you. They've done stupid shit in their career. But yes, moving on. But yes, this whole thing, it was crazy as hell. Stephanie had her hands on the mic again. She used a misogyny angle. No, literally, she said, oh, it's misogyny like that. It's like, seriously. Oh my god.
I have to wonder if Stephanie would be more entertaining if I just envisioned her as Anita Sarkeesian running a wrestling company.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's something there. Give me.
She's always been the one that people suffer. So she's probably not that much different than Anita Sarkeesian. If you've ever watched, I don't think she's like that in real life, but she's. I mean, some of the memories from like my childhood I've had of watching her was her having like this evil face when someone would get knocked out, like when Mick Foley got knocked off the Hell in the Cell. I mean, seriously, that woman was always a scary person. I don't know.
She's certainly good at working the crowd, but but to be honest, I any segment involving a McMahon I automatically hate because it is always so blatantly goddamn self-serving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's McMahon's for you. then after the whole extremely long and I just gotta say the only thing about Stephanie's promo is it's long, and I don't think she had anything to do with that, the network and stuff. But it was
Well, whoever did or didn't is honestly a waste.
yeah. Yeah, but that's all I gotta say is that promo was long. There wasn't anything good that came out of that promo first.
Mm-hmm.
And the next one that came out was Shane. He gave his thing, and I don't think that was that good of a promo either. I don't think either of them gave good promos. Just my personal opinion. Neither of them gave. They just named names. That's all they did in that promo, in their promos. That's all they did.
Mm-hmm.
I do think part of the reason that people are latching on to Shane, aside from him being a nice guy backstage, is the fact that with him around, there's maybe the possibility, faint as it may be, of having a babyface manager once again.
Yeah. The heel manager is getting annoying as hell. I mean, the heel managers are fine, but it would have been
It's played out.
Bischoff back. It would have been. Let me just put it like this: there's a difference between Triple H and Eric Bischoff. Eric Bischoff knows how to rile up a crowd. He really does. There's a difference. Eric Bischoff knows how to piss off a lot of people. Triple H doesn't. I mean, I think they do better as a face and heels. What do you think, Mildred?
I think I just want them off my TV.
What, Steph Hunter?
Because they take up space and waste time.
Yes, and there's one thing I remember about the Attitude Era. You know what that is? It's how they ran it. They had like soap opera style storylines they used to do. They had these like mind storylines.
What about the ruthless aggression thing?
I actually prefer Ruthless Aggression to Attitude because Attitude had a bunch of things I didn't like.
What, like everything that was disturbing to watch?
Yeah.
There's so many disturbing things in the Attitude.
But they took a lot of risk.
I mean, not just based like this, but a lot of people focus on like the disturbing aspects of what the women had to go through.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people really knew how bad it was for the men as well during the Attitude Era, what they had to do.
Yeah,
I think when it comes to that era, a lot of people look at it with rose-colored glasses.
It was really. I mean, yes, the Val Venus storylines were comical at best. They were comical, him getting back at his enemies, but
because he was going to try to fire people if they don't do what he had to do, because they were basically standing there.
Yes, Ruthless Aggression Era was the better one. They had like a lot more backstage segments and stuff, which they barely do today.
Because they were fighting. They fought a lot. They had like more interesting matches back then.
Yes, they had behind the scenes crap all the time. They had backstage brawls. They had but ever since Chris Benoit got committed, suicide of Benoit and his wife, they've been basically, yeah. So it's been PG era back then, up until then. But yeah, moving on now. The final aspect of that is Shane and Stephanie are both running Raw now.
So essentially, we have Austin and Bischoff circa 2006.
Bischoff was good, but this I don't think is good.
Well, the point is that once again we're rehashing an idea from years past.
We're rehashing Ruthless Aggression idea. That's what it is. But yes, that'll come to play in the final match. Roman Reigns versus AJ Styles. Actually, no, it was just a regular match at the beginning.
It was a regular match at the beginning. Then Roman Reigns got counted out because he fell asleep.
Yes. Yes, true. Then Shane came out and says, no count-outs like that.
Hmm.
And then he low blows AJ Styles. And Stephanie comes out and says, it's an Extreme Rules match. It's like, oh my god, really? Is this how they're going to do it from now on? So I think that's how they're doing it from now on. I think that's how this rivalry is going to happen, is they're going to try and up each other. But it had one of the stupidest endings ever. The phenomenal.
This ending was like a TNA pay-per-view ending.
What, like a Victory Road?
No, I'm not one pay-per-view in particular. This is just something that I've seen happen so many goddamn times, where they open up with. I shouldn't say open up with where they decide to do a bunch of run-ins, a bunch of interferences, and a bunch of spots instead of doing a simple finish.
Yeah.
So first we have the first count out, and then they decide, oh no, nobody wanted to end that way. It's not going to end in this new era like that. It's going to be no countouts.
Yeah.
It's a straight up brawl.
Yes.
No, and then somebody gets low, and then I can't.
It's low.
Somebody got low blowed, and they decided to go. Nope, not doing that way either. It's now no DQ, and then Gallows and Anderson come out.
Oh yeah.
And then the Usos come out. That breaks down.
Oh,
AJ gets speared, then pinned, and yet somehow, despite all that, despite the fact that he lost clean, somehow he's getting a rematch. Like, I realize why they're doing it, because this was a good match. This was leagues and bounds, a superior match compared to the match Roman Reigns had at WrestleMania. I think it's largely because of the fact that you can't have a Rock fighting a Rock.
No. You need to have AJ Styles is talented in his.
Well, not only that, but he doesn't work exactly the same way as the problem with the Triple H Roman Reigns match is the fact that the two of them work exactly the same.
What's that? Basically
that whole brawl centric smosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically how most of these wrestlers fight anymore these days.
Well, there's definitely variation, but the point is you can't have two big brawlers in the same ring because like I said, you've got a Rock fighting a Rock.
Yeah, and it doesn't work that way. You need to have variety in your matches.
Yeah, you need. Well, I wouldn't want to bring back that old era of women having a pillow fight match.
Oh God. They were. I mean, seriously, I didn't like those matches either.
Yeah, because they.
I don't think they really know that a lot of us fans didn't like those matches.
Well, that was back then, so you don't need to worry about it being brought back ever again because they gave up. They gave up realizing that isn't going to help bring ratings to WWE.
No, it worked back in 1998.
Yeah.
Back in 1997, 98, and 99, but after Trish and Lita, it didn't work.
Yeah. And they just wanted an actual match. Like they just wanted to see actual women fighting with really good skill, really good talent.
If you want a good counter argument to that, look at the match that Lucha Underground put in just this week.
Yeah.
Mariposa versus Sexy Star. And the two of them just killed the shit out of each other.
Basically just like an NXT women's match.
No, this got bloody.
Oh, okay.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that would kill them.
Yeah. But that was WWE Payback. There wasn't much. There were a few good matches that went on, but for the
I
most
think I think I think Vin I think Vinny I think on the Brian and Vinny show there was one thing that was said that I think very much fit very much was appropriate to how things went down. They did a great job of putting good matches together and making you not want to care about them.
Yeah. But they wanted you to actually see those matches and not even judge for yourself what they do.
Yeah, but other than that, there's not much I gotta say anymore about Payback. It was a good event. It was still way better than WrestleMania, but that's not much saying. WrestleMania 32 was still one of the worst.
Yeah, 32 wasn't the worst I've seen, but
One
I
of
mean,
them.
to be honest, you can't really get much worse than 11.
Yeah, or 27.
But it was very very bad.
Yes, it was. Now moving on to the Raw after. Oh God, I watched that Raw was. I didn't watch much of the Raw, but what I did watch, it was like what's his name, Robertson was like trying to say, oh no, I didn't do it like that. I didn't work for Ric Flair. And I did you really watch Raw afterwards?
I had I had a connection snafu, so I couldn't see it.
Oh,
And to be honest, I'm more willing to watch SmackDown because there the commentary isn't going to make me tear my own ears off.
yeah, Cole, JBL, and Byron.
Hmm.
Why the hell haven't they moved those dumbasses to SmackDown and bring the good ones over to Raw?
Mario Ranallo and to be honest, Jerry Lawler works a lot better with Mario Ranallo than he does with
The King.
Cole.
Going back to the King. He's now
Yeah.
King Lawler again. He's King Lawler now.
Hmm.
He's back to that heel phase again, which is something I missed. Something he hasn't been in like 15 years. He was a face for 15 years, and then he finally becomes a heel, which is good. Oh yes, there is some things that happened during Raw. New Day versus Vaudevillains was announced, and Charlotte versus Natalya. Ric Flair is banned from ringside. That's all they announced at Raw. Now on to much more effed up news. Oh, go ahead.
One thing I have to say, and this is something that's really bugged me when it comes to how Charlotte's been used since she came up, is the fact that they are so reliant on the fact that Charlotte is Ric Flair's daughter.
Yes.
And what I'm afraid is going to end up happening is that once the inevitable happens and she ends up striking off on her own, they are going to have absolutely no idea how to use her.
Yeah. She was good in NXT, but
in NXT it was brought up that she was Ric Flair's daughter,
but it
wasn't overtly called attention to constantly, and you only had Ric Flair at ringside for that one match.
Yes, that one championship match. But moving on now. One final thing I wanted to cover before I end the stream. WWE has released a bunch of people, and this is probably going to take the bulk of the stream because we're going to have our opinions on this. WWE decided they were going, and I'll put the link in the description for you guys to watch in our chat so you guys can see it. WWE has decided to release an ass load of wrestlers.
Yep, they're doing their spring cleaning again.
Yep, spring cleaning and spring cleaning once again. And guess who gets released this time?
Well,
Damon Sandow, Wade Barrett, Santina Morelia, Cameron, Hornswoggle, Alex Riley, El Torito, and Zeb Coulter.
all right. Now Zeb Coulter, I understand that the gimmick had kind of worn off by that point.
Yeah.
As far as what he was doing, and I think when they broke up the whole Real Americans tag team, that was the beginning of the end.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not to say that they can't bring. That's not. But I have a hard time believing that they can't use a manager like Dutch.
Yeah. What he was known as was Dutch. Yeah.
Well, he's been known as for the longest time as Dirty Dutch Mantel. We can't. Given that so many of the guys who are working there can't cut a promo to save their life, why not have a guy be a mouthpiece? I mean, that's the sole reason that you got that Brock Lesnar came in with Paul Heyman, and that duo works so well is because
Paul Dangerously is still one of the best mouthpieces still in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
He could probably sell you a pile of manure and you'd buy it. I'm just saying, Paul Heyman is still one of the best managers you could have. So yes, Zeb Coulter, was bad to see him leave. El Torito, what did you think of him? I wasn't really behind him.
I think there's a good wrestler underneath that gimmick. It's just he's saddled with a gimmick and a company that thinks if you're under 5 feet, then you're a child.
Yes. Heck, I'm 6 foot and I probably wouldn't even make it. Look what they did to Jay Lethal. I mean, seriously. Jay
Lethal was never in WWE.
Didn't he try to get in though?
I think he went in for a tryout and it didn't work out, so he decided to move his services elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. I'm just saying though, just all those wrestlers though. I mean, they're pushing new talent away because they're too short.
I know that they had a chance to get Ricochet, and they decided to not take it. And given what Ricochet is doing in Lucha Underground, I get the feeling they're biting themselves on the ass over that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think because of the money.
No, it's not that. It's just Vince being an idiot once again.
Vince and well, here's the thing that I've noticed, especially after I looked at that investor report from last year,
Mm-hmm.
that compared WWE, UFC, and boxing.
Yeah.
And one of the things I noticed that UFC has in its favor is the fact that they have been better than, I'm not going to say very good, but they have been better than the other two in terms of noticing talent.
In what way?
Like as far as noticing somebody being talented and taking advantage of that at the right time. Like UFC with now the two big stars that came out of 2015 were Conor McGregor and Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
And with those, they saw something in them, and they decided to run with them and see where things would lead. They could have easily just with Conor, they could have easily just said no light heavyweight has drawn since BJ Penn.
Mm-hmm.
Or they could have said she's a woman, she can't draw.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't do that.
Mm-hmm. Uh, yeah, and another one, a staple to, and moving on to another one that got released, a staple to WWE's, like if your gimmick is going south, if your alliance gimmick is going south, you add this guy to them. Hornswoggle, they just released him. If your gimmick was going to, I thought they were going to put him in with Social Outcast, but they released him instead. Now Social Outcast is doomed. What do you think about that?
Releasing Hornswoggle, I guess it was inevitable, but I'm kind of surprised that it took him this long to do it.
Yeah, the little bastard is what they used to call him. I remember that. I remember the whole.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah,
stupid.
Vince McMahon's. He won the Hornswoggle did win the Cruiserweight Championship. He was Cruiserweight. He won the Cruiserweight Championship, and
Which
then,
was also stupid.
yes, and then he and an even stupider storyline, which was kind of comical, but it was like really, it was like that whole like anger between Triple H and Vince McMahon thing. It was during that time where it was like the illegitimate son storyline was hitting, and it's like your son is not extreme, like you know that like whole thing where they brought all the male superstars out. He's like, all you ECW guys get out of here, which would have been perfect if it would have been CM Punk being the illegitimate son. That would have been one of the best stories with Adam Lambert on that one. It'd have been a great storyline if they would have done CM Punk, but they didn't. So but it went down to it. It was left to Triple H and a few others. And it says your son loves to play the game. And it's like, oh god, they're doing that. And it's like, well, you're our son. Oh god. And it's like your son is Hornswoggle, which was comical as hell. But I mean, it was funny as hell. But yeah, it was a really stupid storyline. Yeah, Hornswoggle's gone now. What do you think about Hornswoggle, guys? He played the Leprechaun for so many years.
Yeah, I hate leprechauns in wrestling.
But the best match, one of the best matches I've seen Hornswoggle in was against El Torito in that TLC match, where they had the tiny chairs and the tiny ladders and tables. I mean, yes, that was a comical match, but that was 3
I wouldn't mind seeing Hornswoggle wrestle in the minis division for say AAA.
Yeah.
And I get the feeling that El Torito is gonna end up going to AAA once the whole no compete stuff is up, or if he can figure out a deal with them.
Mm-hmm. I thought since they released him, that's it. They could go to any other.
Oh, it depends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, but Hornswoggle and El Torito, it was inevitable that those two were going to go. The next one up was Cameron. Oh God, it's about time they dumped her.
Well,
To be quite honest, Cameron is somebody who's only at their best when it came to being part of the Funkadactyls.
Yeah, the Funkadelics. Yeah, the Funkadactyls. Yeah. Oh man, I remember that though. That was like. But Cameron, it was about time. It was like how they would go for the pin and stuff. Like how she would go for the pin or a submission and stuff. Like how she would like be posing while she was going for a submission. It's like seriously, that's not. You don't buy it if you do it like that. You've seen how she poses, like when she goes for a pin or a submission. It's one of the most annoying things ever about Cameron. So, seeing her get booted, it's fine by me.
Plus, given that they're trying to do the whole they're not divas anymore. Somebody like her is gonna get lost in that shuffle.
Yes, and bad me to say this, even Summer Rae had somewhat of an athletic career before the WWE. Even though it was a lingerie football league, she at least had somewhat of athleticism behind her name before WWE. Cameron really didn't. That's bad for me to say that, but it's true. When even Summer Rae has more of an athletic background than you do, yeah, your time's about to end pretty soon. Yes, and moving on to another one, Santino Marella. He's been out of it for a long time. I thought he retired.
He did. He retired. He retired from in-ring competition, but I guess they'd been having him backstage for whatever they have people do backstage. I seriously doubt he was ever in the ring truck because Gunn doesn't let anybody in the ring truck.
Yep. Mm-hmm. But Santino Marella is now out. One of the best things about one of the first matches Marella was in was they pulled him from the crowd and he beat. Actually, no, it was an interference victory, but he beat Umaga for the Intercontinental Championship. That was his victory, and he was more of a comical character.
Yeah, and he certainly had his comedy moments, but after a while, it became clear that if you were much like The Miz, if you were feuding with Santino, you were pretty much in a death spot.
Yep. So Santino Marella is out. And then coming on to the final three, which I think were missed opportunities, all three of them. First one up is Alex Riley. Alex Riley.
It is kind of, to be honest, it is kind of fun. Alex Riley, I thought was doing a pretty good job on commentary for a while on NXT. Then he ended up he decided he wanted to wrestle again, and he was all right, though he looked way too much like Triple H circa 2000.
Oh yeah.
Which, to be fair, is the best version of Triple H, but he did himself over after he decided to act like a child to Solomon, and you probably saw that whole thing. That was.
Yeah. Solomon. Oh God, Solomon Crow.
No, not Solomon Crow. Jason Solomon. Solomon sounds off how he got into a Twitter feud with that guy.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait a minute, which one? Okay. But yes, Alex Riley was a missed opportunity. He really was. He was having a good run on NXT as a heel, but yeah, they probably had to let him go. Who knows why? Probably internal. Who knows? We probably will never know. Next one up, King Barrett.
Now,
yes, it was his choice to leave, but it was really the WWE's fault that he left.
Now, King Barrett, that was a case where it was one. Now it could be argued that it was going to be inevitable because he kept getting himself injured, but personally, I think I think part of the problem was the fact that they don't seem to know how to use people who have legitimate athletic backgrounds. Because that whole thing about him being a bare knuckle champion, that is legit.
Yeah.
And they decided to do all these gimmick things, and though to his credit, he did. I think the best moments of his career was when he was doing the Bad News Barrett thing, which he really should have stuck with that. He really should have stuck with that gimmick for a while, for at least a little while longer.
King Barrett, which was the most annoying thing possible. It really was.
If it didn't work.
Oh man, and then they decided to make him the Cosmic King. Oh God.
Yeah, the Cosmic King to try and when it came to that whole feud, and having him win King of the Ring, it was like they they were doing these kind of things because it seemed like they had no idea what to do with him.
Yeah, that the Cosmic King was like, oh god, they buried him once again. Because that man's been, for those who don't know the term, buried means basically they're pushing you right back down the ladder again. Basically, is the term. So,
Well, and it's
wait.
also the fact that they can't book worth shit.
Yeah.
Like somebody like Barrett should be stupidly easy to book. Now, was he getting himself injured a lot, and was that a bit of a hindrance? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I cannot deny. But here's the funny thing. He was the guy who won, and he was the guy who won that season of NXT.
Yep.
Because he was the one who Vince saw the body, and that's what he fixated on. But guess who else was on that season of NXT?
Daniel Bryan?
Yeah, the guy who everybody liked.
Yeah. And I remember when the Nexus attacked, too, that episode of Raw. It was that You Vote episode of Raw. It was like the people voted for episode of Raw. And it was John Cena versus Straight Edge Society CM Punk, where he wore that lucha mask, basically. And how it ended was led by Wade Barrett, the entire assault of who are they? They're basically the Nexus. They all just ambushed him, and just
ambushed them, ambushed everybody, tore apart the ring, and he got fired but apparently doing all that and being as vicious as possible it
didn't help. I mean, like for instance, that whole feud with the Nexus, it ended with it began with this amazing ending for Raw where they just destroyed the entire thing. It's literally looked like they packed up everything. They literally ripped apart the canvas, pulled the padding out, started tearing apart the wooden boards. They were destroying everything. They were literally destroying everything, tossing up the wooden planks on the ring. Yeah, it looked like they had their go, took out the announcers. Yeah, that's basically how it ended. And then it goes into John Cena loses the wager, and he has to help Wade Barrett win. And I forgot which event it was, and Cena basically screws him over, and Orton wins the match. Which to everybody which I think was a very stupid outcome anyway. Cena keeps screwing these people over. And yeah, so that's basically Wade Barrett. The next and final one I could go to now. You guys there still?
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere.
Okay, I was just wondering. Nobody was really talking. It was just me.
I think it's going to be interesting enough to see what would happen next, because a lot of people are talking about these matches happening, but at the same time, it's going to be hard enough to believe who's going to be in those matches in the possible future, because whatever Vince McMahon's planning, he's probably planning a huge event.
No.
He's probably planning what he thinks is a huge event, but really isn't, because he's had so many people pile driving their heads up his ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He, like in the words of CM Punk, he surrounded himself by yes men. He really did. He could be a billionaire, but he stays a millionaire.
Yeah.
And, the final person to get released, which had as much potential as the other two, was Damien Sandow.
Now that was a case where maybe it's just me, but it very much feels like Damien Sandow they were butthurt about the fact that he got himself over.
Yep, he got himself over with that whole Mizdow storyline.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, seriously, he did what he was supposed to do, and what really got him over was after Sheamus beat The Miz unconscious, after Sheamus beat The Miz literally almost unconscious at Hell in a Cell 2014, which I remember was a very comical match. At the ending, he basically lifts The Miz's arm up, and Mizdow opens his arm up like that, pulls it down, and decides to do the YMCA thing. One of the most comical endings to that match I've seen in a very long time. And he got himself over it, and people kept cheering Mizdow, Mizdow, Mizdow. And at a Battle Royale, when Miz got thrown over, Mizdow jumped over the ropes as well. I mean, seriously, he was over, and then at the WrestleMania, he says, "I quit," and then throws Miz over the ropes.
Yeah. And then he goes and cuts that promo as himself and gets a lot of comes off as this massive baby face.
Mm-hmm. And then WWE throws him under the bus, teams him up with Summer Rae. Summer Rae slaps him, causes them the match, and Summer Rae.
And then they decide to go with him cosplaying as Macho Man so that they could do a recreation of the Mega Powers.
Oh God. And that ended because Hulk Hogan and Gawker. That ended with the Hulk Hogan being a racist thing.
Mm-hmm.
So as Damien Sandow never had the best luck. He got over so many different times. Whenever he had the chance, he got over, and WWE kept kicking him down.
But what really was the tragedy that showed the massive amount of potential that he has was his appearances on Xavier Woods' gaming channel.
Oh yes. Up, up, down, down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where he showed up as Sizzle and
Xavier
was amazing.
had almost everybody on there. He had Sandow. He even had Rusev on there. You saw like a whole different side of Rusev when he was like on the gaming channel. Yeah, and it was so comic. It was so funny. After a while, WWE decided to sponsor that YouTube channel. Sponsor the living shit out of it. I mean, seriously, Xavier Woods has the best shilling time out of anybody. He could shill his YouTube channel on Raw. I mean, and the pay-per-views. He does all the time. But yeah, Damien Sandow got screwed over, Wade Barrett got screwed over, and Alex Riley got screwed over. That's how I think of it as.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not much more I could say about that. There is a few more things that came up over the last week. Recently, WWE, they brought back Table for Three. Ric Flair, 3 of the 4 Horsemen. They did the Table for 3 of the 4 Horsemen, which was a pretty good one. And another one that they did was Camp WWE. Did you get to watch that one yet, Mildred?
I saw Camp WWE, and
it was funny. It was an over-exaggeration. It was Seth Green's TV show, so it was basically Robot Chicken style.
Mm-hmm.
It was comical though. I mean, seriously, they got the. What'd you think of it?
If you're not a big fan of that kind of humor, it's not going to do much for you. And to be honest, some of the jokes are hit and
Run.
hit and miss.
Hit and miss. That's it.
But it is the first episode, so I'm willing to give them I'm willing to give them a chance to show what they can do.
Yeah, pilot episodes are always like that, though. They're trying to the introductions and stuff.
Yeah, but they're not at the point where they've found their niche yet.
Yeah. But I did like the Sergeant's Operation Slaughter thing, where it just shows Sergeant Slaughter with the giant rocket launchers. He's like, Operation Slaughter. And they're like, no, like that, like, fine. Hell in the Cell, and basically locks the camp in a giant Hell in the Cell. But it was funny. He chases after John Cena, throws a pill in the water, and out comes the speedboat. I mean, seriously, that's Vince McMahon. The over-exaggeration of Vince McMahon.
Yeah, it is, as Zane had pointed out, it is very clear that there was some that there was some editing jobs being done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't have much else to say. That's actually what happened in Payback. Not much happened on Raw. Camp WWE was sort of good. It was a pilot episode. There's gonna be a new one coming out on a Monday, and there's not much more I could say about that. And the releases, a bunch of them were fine. We knew that a lot of them, it was like a matter of time for most of them to be released. Others, it was like missed opportunity after missed opportunity for 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have much more to say. So I think I'm going to end the stream right here, guys. I have been your host, Leon Goodstill, with Mildred the Monk and JT Vega. We'll see you guys next week.
See you next.